Hi, it's Katrina. From ferocious ghost hounds that will bite your head off to loyal dogs who will wait 20 years for you to return, here are 10 legendary and mythological canines from around the world. Number 10. Orthros. Orthros, also sometimes called Orthrus or Orthus, is the two-headed serpent-tailed canine monster of Greek mythology, and being a guard dog runs in his blood. He's the brother of Cerberus, the multi-headed dog who guards Hades, the otherworld, and you can kind of see the resemblance. His parents are the parents of almost all the monsters, the half-woman, half-snake monster named Echidna, and a deadly serpentine giant named Typhon. In some stories, Orthros is the father of the Sphinx and the Nemean lion, and also possibly the Chimera, although everyone's relationship is a little bit confusing as the mother of these creatures is sometimes said to be his own mother. Orthus and his master Eurytion lived on the Sunset Isle of the far western Mediterranean island of Erythea. They guarded the red cattle belonging to the fearsome three-headed giant named Geryon, who is Medusa's grandson and the nephew of Pegasus. One of the 12 labors of the hero Heracles was to fetch the cattle of Geryon for Eurystheus. The 10th labor on the list, Heracles killed Orthus either with arrows or with his club, depending on the story. Then he slayed Eurytion and Geryon and finished his mission by taking Geryon's red cattle. Number 9. Black Shuck. The Black Shuck is one of many huge ghostly black dogs of folklore from the British Isles. The black dog appears at night and has black mangy fur, glowing eyes, and foams rabidly at the mouth as he wanders the coastline and countryside of Norfolk, Suffolk, and the northern parts of Essex. Black Shuck is evil and a symbol of death. They are bigger than normal, sometimes as big as a horse. In many cases, it is associated with the devil or a malicious ghost or shapeshifter out to harm those who dare wander about. Or even if they're minding their own business indoors. You just don't know. The first known written mention of the Black Shuck dates back to 1127 in the English town of Peterborough and details a mysterious pack of huntsmen as horrible jet-black he-hounds with red eyes the size of saucers. Between 20 and 30 of the terrifying canines remained in the area for the 50-day Lent period. This event, called the Wild Hunt, bears similarities to other stories told throughout Central, Western, and Northern Europe at the time. According to a 1577 legend from the town of Bungay, the Black Shuck knocked down the doors of a church during a terrible lightning storm and killed 2 people who were praying. He then proceeded to Blithburgh Church, 12 miles away, where he killed 2 more people. There have been numerous other sightings of the Black Shuck, including one in 1905, where he turned into a donkey and disappeared. It's possible that people interpreted howling winds, especially those blowing in from the sea, as a pack of hunters, and therefore as the Black Shuck. Legends surrounding the creature perhaps represent seasonal changes and weather phenomena. For example, stories highlighting the life-saving effects of fleeing the Black Shuck explain the importance of staying indoors during winter. Meanwhile, legends involving Black Shuck sightings and the destruction of churches point toward the possibility of lightning strikes burning structures down. In any case, if you're out walking about at night, try to get home as fast as you can. Run from the Black Shuck! Number 8. Cadejo. El Cadejo is a supernatural canine primarily of Central American folklore and is also present in some South American folklore. It's a large, shaggy canine, sometimes as big as a cow, with goat hooves and sparkling red eyes. In some regions, it's more bull-like in appearance. There is a good Cadejo who appears as white and an evil one who appears as black and is oftentimes considered an incarnation of the devil. Both are seen mainly at night. The white Cadejo protects travelers from harm during their journey, while the black Cadejo's mission is to kill them. A nearby Cadejo is said to emit a strong goat-like odor. People are cautioned against turning their back to one or speaking to one, which will cause them to go crazy. In Guatemalan and Salvadoran folklore, the Cadejo is a dog-like creature with deer-like hooves and who moves like a deer, and the white Cadejo has blue eyes rather than red, so it's a little less creepy. It guards drunk people against being robbed or otherwise harmed and also protects vagabonds and people with grudges. The Black Cadejo targets people of immoral standing, including those who display bad behavior and conscience. It hypnotizes its victims with its glaring red eyes and ultimately steals their souls. Luckily, the white Conejo prevents it from stealing the souls of babies and toddlers. Legends of El Conejo in El Salvador date back to the times of indigenous ancestors who originally believed that the canine spirit helped people along into the afterlife. The story seems to have been changed to show the difference between good and evil with the arrival of Spaniards and Christianity. This video topic was requested by Megan Medina, and I thought it was a great idea. Thanks, Megan! Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what topics you would like to see in the comments below. Number 7. Riseu. A Riseu is a legendary creature of Japanese mythology who represents the embodiment of thunder and lightning in animal form, and whose cry sounds like thunder. He often appears as a white and blue wolf and makes loud rumbling sounds. In some stories, he's a dark, wolf-like creature with long, sharp claws and a ferocious face. He also sometimes takes the form of a ball of lightning or a wolf wrapped in lightning. As the companion of Raijin, the Shinto lightning god, a Riseu is typically docile and harmless, but he becomes agitated during storms when he leaps among trees, fields, and even buildings, which he sometimes scratches with his paws and sets ablaze. Riseu live in the sky, which until the 20th century was off limits to humans, meaning we didn't know much about it. They also sleep in human navels or belly buttons. To wake one up, Raijin shoots lightning arrows at him, thereby harming whomever he's sleeping on. Although certain legends say that a Riseu only crawls into the navels of outdoor sleepers, superstitious people avoid having this happen by sleeping on their stomachs when the weather is bad. Number 6. Garmer. Garmer, or Garm, is a dog or wolf of Norse mythology and a destructive force of the underworld. References to him are infrequent and vague, so little is known about him. Records show that during the Viking Age, Garm was the greatest among canines, similar to the way Odin ranked among gods and Yggdrasil among trees. Based on references to wolves regarding Ragnarok, the destruction of the cosmos, it's possible that Garm ultimately represented the same character as Fenrir, the wolf whose escape set off the apocalyptic chain of events. Garm may also be synonymous with a nameless hound who is the blood-stained guardian of Hell's Gate and who barks at Odin as he rides into Nippa Cave, a suspected entrance to the underworld. In this context, it's possible that Garm is the guardian of this entrance. Whether or not they are truly the same creature, Garm, Fenrir, and the Hound from Hell are all canines and forces of chaos who represent the underworld and break free from captivity at the beginning of the world's end, and who also help its destruction. Number 5. The Axe-Handle Hound. The Axe-Handle Hound is a frightening dog with origins in the U.S. states of Wisconsin and Minnesota. It resembles an axe-shaped dog with a head shaped like a blade and a long, slender body, like a handle, with short, stubby legs. So you would think that a scary hound would be after your fresh meat, but this doggy's diet consists solely of discarded and unattended axe handles. It hunts nocturnally, traveling from one camp to the next in search of food. Any axe handles it doesn't eat right away, it saves for later, although it is a picky eater. The Axe-Handle Hound despises handles made of red oak and even prefers axes manufactured by the Peavey brand. A lumberjack who had lost his leg in an accident once domesticated one of these hounds, but because the man had a wooden leg, the hound was obsessed with chewing on it. He finally had to give the hound a piece of red oak for it to go away. Although the creepy canine is a nuisance to lumberjacks, it's considered relatively harmless. Legends of the Axe-Handle Hound grew so popular, there's even a campground along Minnesota's Little Fork River named after it, called Axe-Handle Hound. These stories are rooted in turn-of-the-century lumberjack folklore and were created to explain missing axe handles, as it was a relatively common issue in the forest. Axe-Handle Hound folklore also explains the preference for Peavey brand axes over red oak handles, resulting in the more frequent losses of Peavey axes as opposed to other brands. Before modern forestry equipment came along, woodsmen placed great importance on having a quality axe, as they worked with the tools all day, every day. You knew it was either going to be a hound or a fairy that was to blame. Number 4. Gellert. Gellert is a legendary dog of the village of Bet Gellert in northwest Wales. According to the story, the 13th century king Llewellyn, or Llewellyn the Great, came home from hunting and discovered that his baby was missing. Gellert was in the house near the overturned cradle. His mouth was smeared in blood, and so was the floor. Believing that Gellert had harmed his baby, Llewellyn killed the canine with his sword. After the dog yelped for the final time, however, Llewellyn heard his baby crying from underneath its overturned cradle. The child was unharmed and in the company of a dead wolf, whom Gellert had killed to prevent from harming the baby. Llewellyn felt awful for killing his loyal dog and buried him ceremoniously, but was forever haunted by the canine's dying yelp and never smiled again. Today it is believed that the village of Gellert, whose name means Grave of Gellert, was named after an early saint rather than the legendary dog. There is a grave mound marking Gellert's alleged burial site. 18th century hotel owner David Pritchard is partially credited for popularizing the gravesite, which he promoted to boost tourism to the area. But still, that dog acted like a saint. This would be a sad mistake that could happen to anyone, really. You have to trust your pets. If not, who can you trust? Unless it's a boa constrictor. Number 3. Pissanta. The Pissanta is an enormous canine of Catalonian folklore in Spain. It's heavy, hairy, and black with steel paws, which it swipes towards anyone who gets in its way without hesitation. There are holes in the paws, however, which prevent the monstrous animal from grabbing onto anything and stealing it. It lives among ruins and abandoned churches and spends its nights sneaking into people's houses. The shape-shifting home intruder gets in through keyholes, underneath door cracks, and sometimes even by traveling through the walls. Once inside, the Pissanta sits on its unsuspecting, slumbering victims' chests and causes them to have nightmares and breathing difficulties. Detecting its presence is difficult, even if someone wakes up while the creature is right in front of them, because the Pissanta has the ability to slip out of sight before a person can fixate their gaze on it. The most anyone ever sees is its shadow as it rushes away. Like many folkloric creatures with the tendency to invade at night, the legendary Pissanta may have been conjured up as a way to explain sleep paralysis. The presence of holes in the animal's paws gave people a way to rationalize the lack of missing belongings after one visited their home. Number 2. Argos. In Homer's Odyssey, Argos was Odysseus' loyal dog, who was known for his speed, strength, and superior tracking skills. His owner left him behind in Ithaca to fight in Troy. After 10 years of combat and an additional decade struggling to get home, Odysseus finally made it back to Ithaca. He returned to his house disguised as a beggar, with plans to launch a surprise attack against his wife Penelope's many hopeful suitors. As he approached his home, he noticed Argos outside, lying atop a pile of cow manure. The neglected dog was cold, tired, infested with lice, and a complete contrast to the robust canine Odysseus had previously parted ways with. Argos recognized his master, but was too weak to greet him on foot, and was reduced to wagging his tail and lowering his head while remaining on the ground. Odysseus tearfully passed by the dog, and the moment he entered the house, Argos passed away. Had Argos lived, he would have possibly given away Odysseus' true identity and foiled his plan to confront Penelope's male admirers. One of the story's main takeaways is the sincerity and simplicity of the relationship between Odysseus and his dog, even after 2 decades, as opposed to the complicated reunions he faced with his wife, friends, and family. Nothing like a doggy to come home to. Number 1. Arales. Arales are dog-like creatures and are among the oldest spiritual beings of Armenian mythology. They lived in the sky or on the snow-capped volcanic peak of Mount Massis, which is known today as Mount Ararat and is located in modern-day eastern Turkey near the Armenian border. The Arales had healing powers. They descended to the ground and resurrected fallen soldiers by licking their wounds clean. In ancient Armenia, Sparapet was a hereditary title given to the supreme commander of the armed forces. When the Sparapet Musheg I Mamikonian was murdered during the 4th century, his family was in disbelief. They placed his remains atop a high tower in hopes that Arales would bring him back to life. The Arales were also mentioned in the Armenian legend Era the Beautiful. Era was a hero who was slain at the hands of Queen Semiramis after turning down her many marriage proposals because he was deeply in love with his own wife named Navard. While there are many different versions of the story, Semiramis didn't take rejection well in any of them and sent an army to kill Era. Then she placed his body in an upper chamber or among the mountains and prayed for him to be resurrected by the Arales. Of course, Era never returned to life. Semiramis sought out a husband who resembled him, dressed like him, and claimed that he was the resurrected version of the fallen hero. While Semiramis' explanation for her new husband's identity was obviously far-fetched, the belief that dog saliva can heal wounds was common across many cultures throughout the ancient and medieval periods. Besides Armenia, historical evidence of it has popped up in France, Italy, Scotland, and Greece. Some even believe that there's credibility to the seemingly outdated notion that licking wounds has a healing effect. For many species, it's an instinctive response to being injured, and evidence shows that dog saliva contains an antibacterial enzyme called lysozyme. But could it bring people back to life? Probably not. Thanks for watching! What other mythological and legendary animals would you like to learn about? Let me know in the comments below, and also let me know your favorite story. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.